This is going to be a deep dive how to use Google and formulas in Clay to get to really specific results. And what that's going to touch upon is using Google with the SERPR API, meaning those searches are really cheap, leveraging Google's snippet feature, basically part of the result of the search, and then using Clay formulas to extract very specific information from that snippet. The overall use case is that I want to programmatically find the last 2 earnings calls of a given company. The challenge here is, and this is interesting because it's on the surface super easy, but once you start building it, it's not as easy, because in this case companies call their quarters very differently, and that is actually in 2 ways. First, they have different fiscal quarters, so the first quarter for Apple is different than the first fiscal quarter for Adobe. Or maybe they aren't, but like in general, companies have different fiscal quarters. It's not just one way to look at this. So last quarter for Adobe may be Q2 2025. Last quarter for Apple may be Q3 2025, something like that. So you can search for Q1, Q2 earnings calls. That would give you the wrong earnings calls. And it's also not aligning neatly with like earnings call January or something like that, because like quarters, the fiscal quarters may start actually at any month of the year, and that also excludes like this kind of search. I can show it. This is, for example, Adobe second last quarter earnings call, or whichever combination you try to find this, you don't get dependably the calls you want. This is a challenge that can be addressed by knowing what is actually the quarter, what months did the quarter end in that I'm looking for. I hope I explain this in a understandable way. So let's actually get into it. There we go. There's actually a few things happening in Clay, but all of them are Google searches and formulas. So let's get straight into it. What I want in the end for here is to get to this search string. Snowflake earnings call transcript, quarter ending in April 2024. For Apple, I would want Apple earnings call transcript, quarter ending in March 2024. It's mostly these months, of course, that makes sense, but notice how I don't say Q1 2025, because actually Snowflake calls this probably Q2 2025, something like that. And for Apple, it would be Q2 2024, I believe, or Q3 2024, Q2 2024. Anyways, this is the search that leads to dependably the results that I want. I can show it, give you an example. I go into the Apple earnings calls, Apple earnings call transcript, quarter ending March 2024. The first organic result is in fact Apple's Q2 2024 earnings call, which means it's the quarter January to March in this case. Again, for other companies this will be different, and actually the second search result is the earnings call before that. That is really well structured. There is some brittleness in here because the organic link could be different, but in my testing this was extremely dependable, and there would be other ways to make it even less brittle, I would say, but I also wanted to keep things as simple as possible. It's complicated enough, this thing. So let's see how I did that. The first thing I need is to have one place on the web where I can extract programmatically what is actually the current quarter of a company. And let's use Apple as the example. I think I have that open here. When you search for Apple earnings call or something like that, just do a random search and try to find a source that is not changing. And in this case, that's Yahoo Finance, probably around for, I don't know, 25 years. And in what we see here, that it always shows this current quarter, and in brackets, I think you call it, June 2024. What that means is the current quarter is ending in June 2024. I think probably this would have to be updated because the current quarter we are in July, is ending in September. But the way it works is because the last earnings call was not yet published. This is what Yahoo Finance calls the current quarter ending in. This is what I want. So how do I get there? The search constructed here is site : financeyahoo.com, and this always only looks on this specific site in order to get to find this snippet. What that does, and then I search for current quarter. So I'm searching for exactly this, because this will always be the same, and the snippet will contain the context before and after that. This is how it looks in the search results. Let me quickly show. Organic search results. First result, that here is the snippet, current quarter, June 2024. This is what I want. This is always in the same place. Let's go to Adobe. Search results for Adobe. First organic link, snippet, current quarter, August 2024. Okay, there it's already updated, and you see the differences, right? July, August, June, whatever. So for Apple it's June, for CrowdStrike it's July, for Adobe it's August 2024. And we can programmatically work around that with it. So what's happening next is, or what's happening first, what's an underrated feature, I believe, in Clay is using formulas, because with the AI formula generator, I can just prompt a formula that does exactly that, get the snippet, pointing it to the Google search result, in that case, the first organic snippet, or the snippet from the first organic result, which will always contain this, this string, current quarter, and extract what's in the, I think, brackets after current quarter, and that dependably leads to this result, June 2024. Perfect, step one. Step two is only leveraging formulas, which is actually just calculating back 3 months from that, because if June 2024 is the end of the current quarter, for all companies, a quarter has 3 months, that they didn't change. That means the end month, the last month of the previous quarter is March 2024, and when we are currently in the June quarter, then the March quarter will be the last earnings call that is available, and that already gives us a much better pointer, because whatever the company calls it, we don't have to say I need Apple's Q2 earnings call, which would be the case. For another company, it's just not the Q2 earnings call, it would be a different earnings call, and this way we can work around that. And what's actually happening here are two things. First, I just get the result of the previous column, which is something like June, JUN 2024, and map it like this. I'm having it map it out, going from Jan, this is just examples, going from Jan 2024 to October 2023. So it understands that it has to calculate back 3 months and also print it, meaning output it as a full month, because what I want to do with this, and again, going back to it, input, whatever, June 2024, output for that will be March 2024. And this is what I'm using for the search setup to actually find the earnings transcript, because what happens then is the April, let's use the Apple example, the March 2024 is plugged in as a variable to this search string, Apple earnings call transcript, quarter ending in March 2024. And what I didn't do here yet, what I will do going forward, I will restrict it to one of the pages. The earnings call is either on Motley Fool or Seeking Alpha or whatever. I could use the same structure as before. That would be really neat here. Didn't do this yet, but I think the idea comes across. And with this variable that I have here now, March 2024, I can search for the earnings call ending in that month. And that leads, again, dependably to the correct earnings call. For Apple, this is the Q2 2024 call. Let's go to another company. Maybe try Snowflake. I don't know if I need to run the search again because Snowflake updated something, but let's just have a look. For Snowflake, that is actually the last call is Q4 2024, which was released on February 29, 2024. So it's really very different, but it finds the last earnings call. And the beauty is that actually the second organic result is the earnings call before that. There can be a lot of smart stuff done just with this title because it will show us which of the quarters was it, and also at some point we can see what is the time frame that is covered by this. But this way, with this really well-constructed Google search that gives us that snippet of the current quarter, extracting that string, what is the current quarter, then translating that into what that means, what the last month of the previous quarter is, and using that as a search to find the correct earnings call is something that really helps to work around this limitation or this complexity of companies calling it differently. What I did not show, and maybe that's an interesting addition, basically kind of more of the same, but hopefully it will help a little bit building something like this, because what you see here is I always want to search for finance, yahoo.com quote, and then the company stock ticker to get to the right page. Probably I could use the company name, but that introduces more brittleness in terms of it may find a different article on Finance Yahoo or something like that. So I always want even the company stock ticker dynamically be included here in this search term, in this quote. In this search term. And the way I arrive at this AAPL in this example is really Apple stock ticker symbol, and it also has to search only with finance.yahoo in the URL, and it has to have in the title stock, because that is this search. Let me quickly show it. Where here in this, basically this is the result I'm getting with this search. Apple stock ticker symbol in URL finance in title stock. That means the URL has to contain finance.yahoo, and the title, which is this, has to contain Apple. And that gives me always the stock ticker. And with this is the search that I just showed on a Google page, but this is like the API version of that, where you find the organic result here. Oops, there we have it. Apple Inc., always the same. And then I can use again a formula to extract get title and extract what is between the first brackets. I really have to look up how these are called. I think they are not called brackets. And here we go. Again, dependably, programmatically leads us to the stock ticker, and this stock ticker is then a variable in the search setup that I've shown here. Stock ticker going in there, and that allows to construct even a dynamic search like this. So one nested into the other. That being said, the biggest learning here is really to start looking for an API integration, because what you can actually do is use an API to go into Edgar, which is this national SEC database where all the filings have to be placed, and you actually get wonderful data out of that. So everything that I've shown here can probably be replaced by that, but nevertheless I thought it was like just an interesting exercise how Google and formulas can be used in Clay. Happy formulaing.